eventually you get absorbed in and you are Sonic.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to No Repeat. It's a podcast where we pick 3 songs every week with no repeats and no do-overs to create a perfect playlist for every occasion life throws at you. I'm Taylor Olmstead, and I'm joined by my co-host, Tyler Reed.
I'm just saying the pumpkin cream cold foam, that's the play.
And Sean Evans.
As long as it says Sean on the cup, I don't really care how it's spelled. I'm just not one of those people.
Tyler, what was our challenge this week?
This week, we are challenged to find the perfect song to be paired with a pumpkin spice latte submitted by Jesse. You want to submit your own challenge, you can DM us, add us, No Repeat Pod on Instagram and Twitter. Or we have a Facebook group, No Repeat Pod Listening Group. Or an email, norepeatpod@gmail.com. Thanks so much. I'm just going to interject real quick here because Taylor rejected my challenge for this, which basically was the same thing, but in a funnier way, which I wanted to say, perfect song for shotgunning a PSL just to feel alive. But, you know, I feel like this is probably more age appropriate and more broadly appealing. So,
yeah, I mean, look, how you choose to consume your pumpkin spice latte is entirely up to you. Whether you drink it hot or iced or straight to the face like you're shotgunning a beer, you know. Whatever makes you feel seasonally appropriate. I do want to give you some history here.
Oh, good. I didn't realize this was going to be a history episode. Oh, everyone snuggle up. It's a war video.
The pumpkin spice latte is a coffee drink made with a mix of traditional fall spice flavors, including cinnamon, nutmeg, and clove, as well as steamed milk, espresso, and often sugar, topped with whipped cream and pumpkin pie spice. The beverage is most commonly associated with Starbucks, which first offered the drink in the fall of 2003. The popular flavor has inspired a wide range of product variations that appear on a seasonal basis. Starbucks started developing the pumpkin spice latte in January of 2003, following the successful introduction of winter seasonal drinks, such as the peppermint mocha and eggnog latte. Starbucks director of Espresso Americas, Peter Dukes, said that developers realized there was something special around the pumpkin flavor, especially since there wasn't anything around pumpkin at the time. The company experimented with different combinations and ratios of pumpkin to spice, ultimately deciding on a recipe with no pumpkin in it at all. In the fall of 2003, the final recipe was tested in Vancouver and Washington, D.C. Sales exceeded the company's expectations. Duke said, "We couldn't keep up initially. We had to expedite inventory to the stores. The product went on sale in all U.S. Starbucks the following year." Pumpkin spice latte has become Starbucks' most popular seasonal beverage, with more than 200 million sold between its introduction in 2003 and 2015. The beverage started a trend of pumpkin spice products such as candles, air fresheners, as well as a diverse range of food, including donuts, breakfast cereals, cough drops, and pasta sauce.
Staggering.
I could go on. The last line I'll say here is Forbes estimates that the beverage accounted for $100 million in revenue for Starbucks in 2015 alone.
So, just that drink.
Just that 1 year. Just that one drink, yes.
Huh.
I mean, it's obviously like a huge meme and like a cultural resonance now that like pumpkin spice time starts earlier and earlier every year and consumes more and more of the seasonal food product aisle seemingly every year. You can get pumpkin spice literally anything. But I have to say, it was nice to return to the roots today. I couldn't tell you the last time I had a pumpkin spice latte before the one I had today. Probably been 5 or 6 years. Are you guys PSL lovers? Do you break them out every fall? Did you have one in preparation for this challenge?
No, I don't. It's because I don't like lattes. I'm not a big milk person, so the idea of having that is not that good. But I'm down for a ironically named pumpkin spice anything. I mean, you read the Wikipedia background of it, and the reason I think it's ironic is because I think that pumpkin might be the most unspicy of vegetables. Like, I think potatoes might have more spice than pumpkin. They're kind of a silly gourd to eat, honestly. The idea that there's spice there is funny. I didn't put that together until right then. But we do have one of the pumpkin spice latte Starbucks creamers in the refrigerator. One of the big ones.
And what's the verdict on it? It's not quite the real latte, but it's, the make-at-home version.
I don't drink creamer in my coffee. Well, I do, but not often. I actually have not had it in my coffee.
Sean, not doing the homework this week, so I'll pass it off to Tyler. Did you have a PSL? What is your opinion of the PSL? Does it bring meaning to your life?
Okay. So short answer, no. Long answer, I feel like we can count iced versions. Even I don't really think it counts, but I've had at least 2 iced versions
this year or in general.
Yeah, this year.
Okay.
And I would say I feel like every once in a while I get like a flavored drink. So I feel like I've probably incidentally had a PSL probably, at least once a year. Probably within the last few years, just because of you just kind of get over the fact that it's kind of like, I like my coffee black, but sometimes you just want something a little fun. Sometimes you go out and get coffee with someone a little too late, and it's like you've already kind of had your coffee, and it's like, well, what if I just get something fun instead? I will say that I feel like for me personally, I don't necessarily like hot flavored lattes and etc. Because there's something about kind of like the way that it mixes, and like kind of like the almost like it's like it almost has to be like too sweet. Like you kind of really gotta jam a lot of extra stuff in there to kind of hide the coffeeness of it, and then to really bring out the flavor of it. And that's usually through sugar, but I feel like an iced version usually does feel like it's just kind of more suited for that kind of format. So I will say now, as I said in my intro, I actually had the pumpkin foam with my cold brew, and I liked that it was clearly separate, and you get a taste of the foam, and then you get the cold brew. They kind of are separate. And so then you can kind of taste each part individually, and that's kind of nice. You get them at different ratios kind of as you're drinking it. And I think that's for me personally, a really nice compromise.
Yeah, I was very tempted to get that when I went through Starbucks today, but I felt like I needed to be a purist. I needed to go back to the original, because when I was younger, I really did enjoy the return of the pumpkin spice latte every year, and I always made a point to get at least one every fall. I also, unlike you guys, enjoy flavored hot beverages more, I think. I really don't mind it. I will say, now that I'm older and I drink my coffee black and I drink, quote-unquote, better coffee, I agree with you, Tyler, that the sweetness becomes a lot. And so today I ended up getting a tall, which is the smallest one, because it kind of occurred to me that if you get the medium one, it's still going to have the same one shot of espresso in it that the tall has. They're just adding more syrup. And I have to say, getting the tall, I feel like it had a little more espresso bite to it. It had a little less of the sweetness. What I really probably, if I hadn't got it at 3 p.m, I would have had it with a double shot, and I think it probably would have been perfect.
Yeah.
Because at a certain point, the pumpkin spice latte, it really becomes a hint of coffee and then hot milk with pumpkin pie spice in it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to yuck anybody's yum. I think it's a very appetizing beverage, as a seasonal treat. I can't imagine drinking it regularly, even just during the fall. One a year is more than enough for me. But I respect that people are this is my jam, and I'm going to go every week, and I'm going to get my PSL while it lasts. And wear my Taylor Swift trademark cardigan and take Visco pictures and,
Nobody uses that app anymore. You know that.
There is like this cultural association of the pumpkin spice latte with a certain aesthetic, which is kind of where I feel like if we tell people, oh, we're doing a podcast episode about the pumpkin spice latte, they assume it's going to be like basic white girl, like it's going to be a lot of Taylor Swift, it's going to be like, cutesy pumpkin patch photos, like that kind of thing. Is that what you guys were going for? Were you trying to lean in, or were you going to take us on a different journey with your pumpkin spice latte?
So I feel like enjoying the pumpkin spice latte is sort of the beckoning of fall. And so sort of like the ushering it in, I feel like it's sort of like its tradition. And so I feel like what I'm trying to like channel is I'm trying to channel the feeling of like, it's nostalgia, but it's not quite like it's a different kind of nostalgia, right? Because it's like, I mean, how, like you said, it came out, 2003? So it's like, oh God, 20 years. Okay, well, sorry, I'm having an existential crisis at the moment, but I guess 20 years is good enough for it to be nostalgia at this point. But sort of like that sort of feeling of fall, trying to really like embody the sensation of it, trying to sort of get into the season, trying to sort of like, I feel like it's more than just the drink, as all of these challenges end up being. It's like kind of like, well, it's sort of like just like this really gloomy season that kind of is just like, if you really let it, can really get to you, can really bring you down. I feel like I've been kind of feeling it like these couple weeks lately. And so it's kind of like you're just trying to find that energy to bring some comfort, try to find some like peace, try to find some tranquility there. And I feel like you really kind of like focus that into like into a latte. But like in like some ways it's like, well, it's a meditative thing. It's sort of like a ritual. It's like, let me reflect on this as I'm sort of like drinking my coffee, like in the morning, sort of looking out my window, sort of like reflecting, it's like a rainy day, and sort of, instead of like turning like that gloominess of like, that would normally like bring you down, and maybe kind of like reflect that and make it like a little like cathartic, like you're sort of like trying to like enjoy that this is the changing of the seasons and not necessarily letting that like kind of like get you down. So I was trying to embody a lot of those sensations around a stupid Starbucks drink. so
personally, if I don't really, I actually find it stupider to listen to people that want to like hate on it. I just don't have time for it anymore.
Right, what else you got going on? This is the most important thing for you?
I just feel like the greatness of it is that it's probably one of the longest lasting food trends of the millennial lifetime. And you think of all the other weird stuff that has come and gone, but pumpkin spice latte has been around. And, how many cereals have you seen that are avocado toast or sriracha? Not many, not because they make great cereal flavors, but because they just doesn't always connect. So yeah, that's kind of the energy that I picked with my song, where I was like, if it's your vibe, that's great. Just be yourself. Like don't listen to the haters. It's fine.
You say that coming out of me having just watched a commercial for Nature Valley's savory everything bagel granola bars. And I feel like that's like the same energy as a company doing a sriracha cereal.
I mean, look, not every food needs to be every food, okay?
Yeah, I agree. In fact, I would go so far as to say that the future is quite the opposite, that there's no longer a desire to have your spaghetti noodle have an entire serving of vegetables in it.
Right. Nor should it taste like pumpkin or whatever. But I think this is such a good example of marrying flavors, even if you do have to like douse it in sugar for the general public. But like you can make just a cup of hot coffee and put some pumpkin pie spice on top of it, and it's still good. Like they were onto something. They figured something out. And I think aesthetically it has kind of been like gobbled up into this millennial like thing, which, you know, is a parody of itself at this point. But like Tyler said, I think there's value in having seasonal rituals, and I think the pumpkin spice latte for a lot of people is that. And, you know, good on them. And so I at least wanted to pick a song that I felt like, you know, gave me the feeling I have when I finish a pumpkin spice latte. Like, I'm a little more awake, I'm a little more alert, and I'm leaning into the fall vibes. You know, this isn't a chill fall day. You just had a shot of espresso. You're up. You're doing things. Like, let's go. We're headed to the Pumpkin Patch Kids. We're gonna navigate this corn maze. I guess with that said, I can go first.
Go for it.
This week I chose September Girls by Big Star.
September girls, they said how much I was your butch, and you were touch. I loved you, well, never mind. I've been crying all the time. 'Cause some dumb boys got it bad. 'Cause some dumb boys got it bad.
Big Star is one of those bands you've probably not heard of, but they're your favorite band's favorite band. Their frontman and lead songwriter, Alex Chilton, was kind of considered ahead of his time, more arguably created power pop. Most people know Big Star because they wrote the song that became the That 70s Show theme song, which Alex Chilton re-recorded with like a modern mix to be the That 70s Show theme song. But I've always really liked September Girls because I think it has this kind of mid-tempo swagger to it. Like, it feels like walking down the street on a crisp fall morning. You know, you got places to be, but you're not in a big rush. You've had your pumpkin spice latte, you got some coffee in you, and you're just kind of getting it going. And it is this kind of like lovesick song about like relationships that don't always like match up, like December boys versus September girls. You know, I think there's some cute lines in there and whatnot, but for me, it's really the lead guitar and the drum beat. It just has this like simple classic propulsiveness that feels like drinking a really good pumpkin spice latte. It's like, it just gets you moving. You know, you're not running a marathon, but it's going to get you through your day, and it's going to be a good day.
My first like thought when I heard the song is like, this feels very Ben Folds coded, but then I realized this as you're sort of like talking about it. I'm like, oh no, this song came out a long time ago. Oh no.
Yeah, the song came out in 1974.
Yeah, but so that being said, and you were saying this is a band that sort of like pioneered like a specific sound, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, this sounds like so many things. Like, I'm like I said, almost like listen to this. I'm like, this sounds like, I don't know. This doesn't sound like very new or innovative. I'm not really, I'm not really catching the vibe on this. I feel like I've heard this before. It's like, oh, wait, this because they made the sound right there. So, egg on my face. So I feel like I think that's kind of great when the context kind of helps you understand, like, why a song is interesting. And I feel like this really helps it because it changes the perspective from being like, this is a sound I feel like I've heard. It's like, oh, this is really groundbreaking for 74. Like what? This sounds so like this could have come out yesterday. Like, and I would have said nothing, you know? So first of all, that feels wild. So I feel like what's kind of interesting about this, though, being kind of older, is that it feels like a little cheeky. It feels like a little bit like both, like lyrically, also still feels so modern too. Anyway, but I like this as both because reference acknowledged that it's a seasonal, it's a specific month song, like good, correct. So I feel like it meets a challenge at the very least for that. And I feel like this is the correct kind of vibe for, like, as you said, sort of like having like a little bit of energy. Like, I don't know necessarily if one pumpkin spice latte is going to get me jacked off my mind like that quickly, but like, I don't feel like this song's necessarily going anywhere that fast. But it's like, oh, it's a little extra pep in your step, and I feel like that's roughly the amount of energy I would probably have on like a Saturday to go on like a really long car drive to a pumpkin patch in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, so I feel like it fits, and I feel like I owe it to myself to kind of go back and kind of listen to this band, just because I want to hear where a lot of this stuff kind of came from. I think that's cool.
I got like weird vibes from this song because I just feel like at this moment, classic rock is really corny. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I tend to read the vibe differently. Maybe not. But I like the storytelling being used here. Like, I appreciate anytime that there's this seasonal person kind of aspect to it. I don't want to say like astrological kind of thing, because I feel like I'm like a little over that. But this idea of there being like, what, Aerosmith wrote a song called Girls of Summer.
Mm-hmm.
And this idea that your personality kind of shifts based on the season that we're in. I enjoy that metaphor. And I get how this song plays into the challenge. I just think in general, I was like, okay. It's like 70s jangly guitars. It feels it's so of its time, it hurts. To me, and just like, ugh, okay, not my thing. I'm looking for newer stuff, but I totally get why it's on here. Yeah, so that's my opinion.
And you're entitled to it. Well, Sean, why don't you go next?
Okay. See, this is what happens when you beat up on Taylor's song. You get to go next.
That's right. Show me you're better.
So this week I chose Seriously Good Luck With That by Honeymoon.
Are they watching? Did they see it? If you're lucky, they believe it. Lies are colored with the flavor of a good one, of a savior. Such a nice man and a good man. On the one hand, waving that flag like you were born there. Get the gold store in the gold car when you pull up.
So I think I found this song maybe a few weeks ago. I forget what I was listening to. It might have just been on some Spotify mix or something. And I thought, I wonder where this is going, because when you comes in, you have that vocally distorted kind of voice. And then it went into this very easygoing guitar with lots of percussive clapping sounds and different things. I was like, okay, let's see what's happening here. And the more that I listened to it, the more I was like, okay, this feels good. But lyrically, I think is where it connected really well with what I was going for with the challenge, where I kind of said, I don't really care what you think about it, because the song it's kind of a bashing in a way of of a guy. That's like my initial reading of it. I'll let you decide. You can be your own interpretation there, but I think that the PSL beat up session has really kind of turned into something that is just like right at it's like a very targeted critique Um, and I'm just like, oh, cool, you have an opinion about pumpkin spice latte that's bad. How nice. And then I just disconnect and disassociate with the conversation and walk away, where I'm like, see ya. And that's kind of why I picked it, because I was like, this is my enjoying pumpkin spice latte in the fall. If it's you, just be yourself. And if someone doesn't like it, let it be their problem. You just have yourself a nice pumpkin spice latte, because fall is the best season. At me if you don't believe that. And yeah.
Yeah, I instantly knew that this is what you were angling at with this, and I think it fits that vibe well. It really is a telling off the haters song. And, you know, maybe somebody comes at you for ordering a pumpkin spice latte, and you just, Taylor Swift, look what you made me do. You know? I think, like you said, everybody is entitled to their opinion, to their taste. And while there is no accounting for good or bad taste, there is owning and acknowledging what you are, which I think this song does very well. I am really impressed with the production on this track. I highly encourage people to listen to it in full with headphones. There are so many layers here. The psychedelic bridge is really cool. And then that kind of like psych guitar continues into the chorus in the last third. It's just really, really well put together. And the da-da-da-da chorus comes off a little bit snarky, a little bit sarcastic in the delivery, which I think is perfect for the tone. Got a little bit of flute snuck in there. I see you, Sean. Mm-hmm. Secret flute. Yeah, this rules. I need to check this band out.
We put them on this playlist before, didn't we?
Did we?
I almost guarantee it.
I recognize the name for sure.
Because I remember the album art from one of their other ones.
Oh, we did. It's on Wigglecore, episode 114.
Oh, what song?
Their song, Still Here.
Okay, yeah.
Who picked them?
I think it was probably Sean.
Oh, yeah. I'm back.
I mean, I don't know. I assume so.
just like the PSL every year. Well, in this case, 2.5 years ago.
Anyway, so this is quite a departure for them then, because that other song had a very different vibe, and I feel like everyone in the comments of the video is kind of like, "Whoa, this is." I'm here for this psychedelic kind of like breakdown here. This kind of has this kind of fits in kind of with the sort of oh god, who's that guy? I think we picked it as one of our best songs from last year. Was it song of the year?
Tizo Touchdown?
No, that's a good guess though. But I mean, that's not it. I mean,
Steve Lacy.
Steve Lacy. There we go. Steve Lacy, who had, I feel like it's like in that kind of space. It's a little bit like a little Yachty, kind of like his new album that just came out with. It's kind of like
I'd put it in with like Kali Uchis a little bit.
Yeah. And so that feels like a very big departure, kind of from their kind of sound. So that's interesting, and that's some nice range. I like that. I felt like at the very least this song worked for the vibes, because it does sort of, I feel like Psych is usually like a warm, little fuzzy, so it kind of feels like fall. You know, kind of, I feel like that's kind of the right kind of zone. I feel like the fuzzier guitar is, the more it works. So I feel like it worked for that, but it's kind of interesting that I specifically didn't go out of my way to look at the lyrics for this one, because it's this is just vibes. But Sean's like, no, this one's about telling off the haters and say, I'm gonna drink my little latte. You better leave me alone. So I think it's cool. I think it's a bit of a different take than I was expecting for this challenge, but yeah, I think it's it.
I'm sorry, but we can't just breeze past you calling it a latte. Drinking a little latte.
Like a little Lottie, like a little Yachty.
Now that's the collab we've all been waiting for. The Lil Yachty Lottie. Tell us in comments what you think the flavor of the Lil Yachty Lottie should be. But Tyler, it is finally your turn. What is your pick this week?
All right, this week I chose Glotta by Future Islands.
And you can walk the state around and gone. We can fly. You might deserve to see again the slow lapping wave, bathing my face in light in the night.
So I had to check. I was like, all right, I picked another Future Island song a while back, and when was it? It was 2020 as my song of the year, and so I felt okay bringing them back. Same album, because it's still one of my favorites, probably of all time. But I was like, I feel like 3 years is enough time has passed, and because I feel like since I picked it as like a best of, I feel like you don't really get to apply it in a more meaningful way. So I felt okay. So this is the starter for this album, and I feel like it starts off so perfectly, in that it has sort of like sounds like some geese, or just generally probably some migratory birds, and so just kind of this nice sort of like auxiliary sounds, and just sort of like this sort of like slow synth sound. And so I feel like what the song does really well is that I feel like it really builds you up to these swelling synth sounds that really just sort of feel like that the sort of the feeling you have when you take that first drink of coffee in the morning. There's just like sort of like this overwhelming feeling of like euphoria is like a strong word, but this sort of like this is like this refreshing feeling. You feel whole, like that piece you are missing, you know. And so I feel like what the song does really well, and what I feel like Future Islands does well in general, is that I feel like sort of like these synths that are kind of like laid out, they kind of sort of have like a coldness, almost like a briskness, like a chill wind, you know, sort of like a fall. But then Sam's vocals come in, and it feels like a warm blanket. It feels warming. It feels comforting, like this blanket that's just you're just being enveloped in. And a lot of his songs are pretty like forlorn, or they're like sort of like wistful in a way, or they feel like, you know, they're really kind of poetic in their approach, and that they're really talking about big ideas. And so I feel like what this does is it sort of is like making you like, you're like kind of like reflecting on this time. You're trying to sort of like figure yourself out, you know, that's like it's cold, but you feel warm. And so I feel like this does a good job of marrying sort of like these two sort of like disparate feelings. I feel like, for me, kind of like maybe dealing with seasonal depression. I don't know. I'm figuring it out, but I just feel really crappy for no reason and trying to like figure my brain out. And I don't know. It just feels very comforting to have this sort of the catharsis of like a bad sort of like taking sort of like the gloominess of the outside and trying to reflect it and try to bring it as a comfort. But yeah, I just think it's a super great song that I love a lot.
I admire what you're doing here. It's a little too much of a downer for me, but that's okay. Like, I think your interpretation of the challenge is totally valid. I think, like you said, it's a little more contemplative. It's a little more like, you know, sitting with yourself and your thoughts than maybe I was going for. And I'm not like a huge Future Islands fan. I really only like the singles, which are much like bigger and more anthemic. So it's interesting to hear this more like subdued side to them, because I just kind of assumed all of their songs were like the big hits, so to speak. And of course, you know, you can't do that on every song, but it is nice to see their palette, their textures on a ballad. And I think it works. Like, I think it works really well as a song. I like, you know, the vocal timbre against the very clean synths and guitars. Like, he just has so much gravel and grit to his voice that to contrast it that way, I think it's really smart. I guess my only like problem with this song is that I just don't. I understand why it's the first track, like, because it does leave me wanting more. Like, I want it to build to something or do something different. But hearing you say that it's the opening track on an album, I'm like, okay, that makes sense.
Apparently, I just love an opening track. That's always my problem.
This is true. Tyler is always first track, best track. Like, we know this about him. But yeah, it's a good one.
I agree with Taylor here. This is a sad, and that's not all bad, because I am also into the contemplative fall. So I don't have any problem with being contemplative, but I just personally am not in the mood for a sad right now. I need like an up.
Got to push through it.
Yeah, but I feel like what Taylor was saying about this band, Future Islands, having they have their own sound that feels very I don't know if I would go so far as to say that it's unique like a pumpkin spice latte, but I think it's something that, like, once you know it, you know it. Like, I couldn't tell you what the title of a Future Islands song, another one, but I know them when they come on because of the way that they sound. Like, I was just listening to their new single that just came out like 5 days ago. And they are a band that sounds like themselves. It's kind of folky. It's kind of something that you could hear remixed in a way. They just are. And in that way, I think that makes them very pumpkin spice latte. So I think maybe if you're creative, you should ask yourself, like, is my art a pumpkin spice latte? Or am I just, a peppermint macchiato? I don't know.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah. All right, and with that, it's time for listener submissions. We have a few this week. We'll start with Julie Stago, who actually left a comment and didn't pick anything. She said, anything by Smashing Pumpkins, LOL. I'm here for that.
That was for Sean. I was going to say, here it is.
I'm here for that. I am interested in what song you would pick, though. So if you want to follow up with us on the
what Smashing Pumpkins song would you pick, Sean? You're the big Smashing Pumpkins fan.
Oh man, what Smashing Pumpkins song would I pick? There's just so many good ones. Let me look at that. When we get to our B-sides, I will know for you.
Okay. What else do we have?
That's how you need to go last. Ivan Glasgow dropped in a Instagram video of somebody shotgunning a pumpkin spice latte with somebody's homemade song about how everything tastes like, that's where I got the peppermint macchiato it tastes like butt crack, and I was just thinking, like, man, if you could get your butt crack to taste like that'd be like probably a gift. I don't know, or terrifying. I'm not really sure. Consult your doctor. But yeah, so actually shotgunning is a thing, and this woman made it look a lot easier than I imagined it. Even though I think she went kind of high up on the cup, I would have been down more towards the bottom a little bit, just because, she was about 2 inches from the bottom, and it's just like, there's a lot left there. And then at 71 DPI picked Favorite Color by Tokyo Police Club.
I have heard of Tokyo Police Club. I haven't heard of this song, so I'll have to give it a shot.
I've also heard of Tokyo Police Club. And with that, it's time for our B-sides. And these were songs that were so close to getting picked up, but you kind of weren't there in time for your remote order. So, anybody else got some?
We said 2. Afternoon Speaker by The Sea and Cake, and Fast Car by Tracy Chapman. Because for some reason that came on today, and I was like, you know what? I remember when I was driving in my car. Speed so fast, I felt like I was drunk.
Reference not acknowledged. That's okay, though. Honestly, you could probably choose, like, I just want you all to commend me on my restraint by not choosing a Fleet Foxes song.
I really thought you were going to.
I thought I said not today. Not this time. And you also have to commend me on my strength for not choosing a song from that Me Without You album that I always choose songs from. So I am very predictable. I'm a very noble creature. But Foxglove Through the Clear Cut by Death Cab for Cutie was high on the contention. Did not have the correct vibes. Well, lyrically didn't feel like it really made too much sense. And I was like, this is close, but not quite. Yeah, there's lots of things that basically just kind of did not make even the cutting room floor that I just quickly canceled out.
Before I talk about my Smashing Pumpkins pick, my this was a very search out of the deck that I already have pulled challenge for me, because I knew I probably had a winner somewhere already queued that would help me with this. So that's kind of where I went to. I've been listening to a lot more folk lately, and it's hilarious that you said Kali Uchis, because man, I've just been in like Kali Uchis mood for the past few days.
Not a folk artist.
No, yeah, definitely not a folk artist. Okay, so my Smashing Pumpkins would come off of Adore, because I feel like that's the most fall album. Once again, if you don't agree with me, at me. If you listen to Smashing Pumpkins and own a t-shirt and don't know Adore, also at me so I can make fun of you. And then I think I would either pick the happy one. Well, not really happy. There's no real happy songs on Adore. But it'd probably either be Once Upon a Time, which kind of has a little bit more of a fanciful fairy kind of feeling. And then if you really wanted to go down the shame hole, I would just pick Shame, which is also a good song with some wailing guitars, and it's kind of nice. So yeah.
I love a shame hole.
Yeah. Go down the shame hole.
Tyler, if people want seasonally appropriate beverage recommendations from you, where can they get them?
Hey everybody, you can find my design illustration work at rudepets.club and as always, you can find me on the socials as Rude Pets Club on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter.
Sean, if people want to do a deep dive into the history of Smashing Pumpkins, where can they get recommendations from you?
Oh yeah, find me on Instagram at TellySean.
And if you want to get a coffee with me, you can find me on the socials at TC Olmstead. All of these songs will be on the official No Repeat podcast playlist on Apple Music and Spotify. And we'll be back next week with another episode of No Repeat.